And I think there's even the possibility that Cloud9 can end up taking things even quicker than getting into that third map. But we'll see as we kick things off here. It's going to start on Bind, like we said. Shinobi on the Omen, Vice playing Sova, Relyks on the Raze, TenZ, Jett, Mitch, Killjoy on the opposite side, Kaplan, Sova, roca as Reyna. They've got a Phoenix, they've got an Omen, and a Cypher in the mix as well. We'll see what they can do.
Having frenzies as well on a pistol is huge, and wow, that's a great way to start things off. You have the owl drone. I've seen this before. Owl drone to open up the door, and then you just have a kill that comes through right after from a peek from showers. That was just a good way to catch SSG off guard, and now they're even going to push through the teleporter to aggress versus sSef and take him down as well. Meanwhile, though, that opens up the A site, so they have to play a retake. So you will be able to get a spike plan for Spacestation, and roca watches the rotation and the flank rather, and is able to get that first kill. But the actions happen all across the map as we had more players pushing down towards the A entrance, towards the A defender spawn. That's something that SSG has taken advantage of as well the last time they played against each other, and it seems as though they are ready for this for Cloud9. But Kaplan makes it a 2 versus 2. Spike has yet to get planted because they're playing this very patiently and catching C9 pushing aggressively every time to prevent them from getting a spike. And now as he gets pinged out, Vice still gets the kill into roca, and Kaplan is stuck on a clutch.
Kaplan moving into position with the frenzy, spots one, and it's a frenzy battle. It's been fun to watch that pistol come into prominence. Kaplan's like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm out. Backs off, and at least he'll guarantee a spike plant over on the B site. Both players in position, waiting to hear that spike potentially go down, waiting until they can both move left simultaneously.
Spike planted.
And that does allow Kaplan into this great position, right on the other side of the bin, as they start to make their way out from the window. You can see one's already on site, and Kaplan has no idea as Mitch just comes up over the top rope, and Cloud9 picks up a pistol to kick things off here on Bind.
And I think it wasn't only an owl drone that we saw go through the teleporter, but I'm pretty sure I saw the recon dart come through. So that really forced Insky to stop looking towards that showers and look back towards the teleporter, wondering what the hell is happening. And as the door closes, you have TenZ that actually pushed out towards the showers to get that kill. So a very good way for Cloud9 Blue to really figure out how SSG were playing that pistol round, and also being able to get those 2 first kills without giving them any control at the showers was great. But roca tried to turn things around. It was great for SSG in their end to have individual plays to catch Cloud9 off rotations, but it didn't pay off in the end. It was still a 2 versus 1 where, unfortunately, the frenzy didn't come into favor for Kaplan either, and he's going to look for a moment of salvation. He's going to buy another frenzy into this round, but it is going to be an eco for Spacestation Gaming, and they want to try to get some sort of opening with these sheriffs, which they've been very strong with. And it's not only roca. I know we've talked about him a lot, but there's been some great 2Ks, some positioning from Insky as well as with the Sheriff. And Boostio also had multiple 2Ks, 3Ks on this very map versus Cloud9 Blue. So all of these players from Spacestation Gaming have popped off, and this might be the only map where they could actually make this series a little bit more close. But with the pistol that was won by Cloud9 to start things off, it's going to be a tough feat to actually try to tie this game up.
roca backing off as the dart comes through and gives away his position. That allows Cloud9 to get this advanced spot, and it also makes the take that much harder if they were even to try to get in. But TenZ is having none of that. TenZ with the Bulldog from distance finds 3. He wants 4. Is he going to find himself the ace? There's one more target around the corner. Of course he is. TenZ, number 1 on the scoreboard, and number 1, at least in North America, some would say the world, as TenZ picks up the ace. Now, sure, we'll go ahead and say it's just an anti-eco. It's not a big deal, but it's still an ace. An ace is an ace is an ace. And he'll have plenty of cash as well building up in the background as he spent the extra money to go for that Bulldog purchase to begin with.
At least it ties into what you were saying at the pregame, you and Reflections as well, Bach, is that the fact that Cloud9 is out for blood. So to see that despite this being an eco, but you still have TenZ that's chasing for these kills where it's not necessary and still getting them, it shows that Cloud9 Blue really has to, they really want to put a stamp on it to this matchup, and they want to end it really quickly. And they don't mind to actually have a series to finish 2-0 within under an hour if they could, right? So it's okay for them to regress. They want to continue this win, and you have some sort of a split going on from a short A because he was heavily damaged at first. Boostio is going to self-heal inside the teleporter, but that could be a tell that eventually we're trying to take possession towards this B ramp, and that's going to be Vice going to work, and somehow the confusion came in from roca to look back at the teleporter for no reason. And now it just allows Cloud9 Blue on this bonus round to get two players in the advantage.
It was a good mid-round adjustment from Cloud9. They allowed one player through, that was Boostio, who then self-healed with hot hands inside the port. And then you saw the adjustment to get aggressive in hookah and then also peek through from portal. So they had a double peek on mid. It worked out really nicely for them, and they've given themselves a 2-player advantage. It's down to just Boostio now as the Phoenix to lead the charge. A nice pick off onto shinobi to try to gain access to the site. There's utility down from the Killjoy, but KJ's dead, so not a threat.
Correct.
And they'll go ahead and secure the spike here in just a moment. Vice still in position, but only with the Spectre. Wants to wait for his team to get there. And TenZ is coming through, already charging past that cyber cage. Nice curveball through. Has to dodge it. sSef, he gets the perfect peek on that. And now we find ourselves in a one-on-one. Vice is doing great work with the darts to kind of spot out that position. And despite the damage dealt, Boostio swings wide and catches him as the dart recovery continues. So a good round from Space Station, a costly one, as it comes down to one player remaining. But a nice way to get their foot in the door in the second half. The problem is because of TenZ ace in the previous round, there's still a lot of money left for Cloud9. You know, there's no casualties to worry about.
Very important round for SSG at this point, too, because they've bought pretty much both of these teams, actually. Whoever loses this one is pretty much going to be on an eco on the rest. He has small shields, though, for Spacestation Gaming, which gives that advantage in terms of Cloud9 for maybe the angles that they might play against them. But you got to give it to sSef on that previous round. But off camera already, again, control towards the showers as TenZ is moving forward, and a first to fall, which is going to be Boostio, the one that was able to clutch that previous round. But just to mention, that was off the back thanks to sSef. sSef was that top fragger for Spacestation Gaming on that previous matchup, in this previous rematch versus Cloud9 Blue, sorry. But this time, it's going to be Cloud9 Blue that takes the upper hand. And look at that. After that kill, they actually stack 4 players now towards the B side, thinking that Spacestation Gaming likes to play, oh, we're a man at disadvantage. The kill happened towards the A side. Let's rotate towards the other side of the map. But SSG has something different in mind. They still want to continue and take possession of short A and the showers.
Revealing area.
TenZ with a pickoff onto roca. We talked about that battle, what it might look like, and in the initial fight here on the site, able to spot him out. Now, TenZ is in a rough position in that back corner, desperately needs some help as they're going to try and do some additional damage, but look at this play from insky. Because of that back position
30 seconds left.
for Cloud9, that allowed him up into lamps, and he was able to take advantage of it. Unfortunately for insky, only one left standing. Now the ult is available, but surprise, there's still one there. Interesting that the Killjoy decides to take it out. Not that it mattered either way. It was going to get canceled. 12 seconds left on the round, and Vice is in position. That slow play from Killjoy, not rotating over Mitch's continued presence on the B site, ends up producing a successful round win for Cloud9. But again, you know, they almost fumbled that away because of that back position. They were so far back on the site, and they didn't have control of lamps. So when they started to allow that push through, insky was able to just walk right into lamps and didn't have any issues getting into U-Haul and just exploiting that and punishing both TenZ and the other player back site.
Yeah, we talked about map control, pulse plant positioning, lots of freedom given for Cloud9 versus Spacestation Gaming. But at the same time, though, that 2 versus 1, you got to count your stars for insky, that he actually ported right next to Mitch, which basically allows him to know that there was a 1 versus 1 on both sides. So he tried to bring that fight with 10 seconds to go. I did like that idea there, but Vice had better positioning. Now, like I said, this puts them in a tough position for SSG because they have to be on an eco, and Cloud9 continues to aggress versus pistols. And they don't mind that. They don't mind to bring the fight. They already get 4 kills out of that. The spike is down all the way towards the back of the spawn side, leaving only Boostio on himself, and by himself, and TenZ keeps on feeling himself. and he's still tapping and tapping away. I mean, if you're looking at that scoreboard, he's pretty much running away with the amount of kills on the board overall, in my opinion, just based on the past few rounds that we've seen. I mean, he got an ace. There he goes at 11-3 and 0 after 5 rounds played. That's actually quite impressive.
I really like the way that Cloud9 is being aggressive off that portal. These double and even triple peaks we're seeing in mid.
Yeah,
just getting there. It's because they have control of short, so we're not really seeing much presence from Space Station on short, and that's allowed Cloud9 to utilize that portal to the fullest of their extent. You know, we're not seeing much presence from Space Station here in that portion of the map, but there's still time. Space Station can find an opening. They're going to be moving back towards that B site. At least it looks like it for the time being. Again, no presence towards A currently. As they start working their way into hookah. There is run it back from Boostio to lead them in. There's some hardware down. The turret's been taken out, so Killjoy's presence here on the site not only known, but they're going to have to look out for all of that pesky hardware laying on the ground. Now they decide to back off. They've pulled the rotate out because they've got them to come through the portal. They know that the A site is weak, so they exploited the fact that Cloud9 has been consistently using those ports to try and go for those mid pinches.
Yeah.
And now they've reacted. I love the read from Space Station. It's a good adjustment.
You still would have hoped some kills would have happened from that hookah area because they took control with 2 players there. So with 1 going through the teleporter, or even 2, you would hope that they would have a 2-2 trade and take the upper hand. But now it's a tough 4 versus 2 or 3 versus 4 retake who evens it up on a 3-3 tally. The retake is coming through now for Cloud9 Blue as TenZ is moving out towards heaven, but land control is still in possession of SSG. So sSef gets the headshot. He's now looking for the crossfire with his teammates, but we are closing through. Thankfully, though, they do have a Hunter's Fury from Kaplan. He tags with the first, gets him off the spike, but it has been defused on halfway at least. Now on that 2 versus 1, it's going to be sSef with the 3rd kill versus Relyks, and that is a great way to salvage an initial push that kind of failed for SSG.
Yeah, it's interesting how that comes together. I love the adjustment, that mid-round call from Space Station. Knowing that Cloud9, we were just praising them for it. They've been using that mid-portal pretty aggressively. So once they put presence towards B, they send enough resources on that B site that Cloud9 starts to hit that heavy rotate. They, again, really quick to pull the trigger on that change. And they're like, okay, cool. You just sent 2 player through port. That tells me that the A site either has 1 player or none. So it's time to call the rotate. And we've seen that call from a couple of teams, but I don't think it's punished as heavily as it was here just because of Cloud9's propensity to go through that portal in the mid-round. We'll see if Space Station starts to play with that a little bit more as well and continues to utilize that to their advantage. Again, their A presence basically is non-existent. So you've just got Sova in spawn watching for a push. Jett's in showers. Omen was there as well. But TenZ isn't really going to spot much because they continue to make their... They continue to take their fight over towards B, where we see sSef picking off 2 players, but there's still 1 more. It's Vice pushing down close. And that cyber cage is going to dissipate in just a second, and somehow Vice ends up winning that fight.
That's ballsy. That was actually very well done there for Vice, especially due to the fact that they went for a triple peek from the turret that was placed by Mitch. You would think the upper hand would come in favor of Cloud9 to get all that information first and catch SSG off guard. But roca opens up that B side. There's 30 seconds left on the clock. The spike could still be redeemed by the attacker side, and they could still split into the site where Vice is stuck on his lonesome. So they'll know that it's going to be a late rotation. Unfortunately, well, actually now it comes into that rotation. They know both players are close. They have to come in towards the B side. The first trade to come through. 1 stuck inside the corner. Vice does get the count to roca, but Kaplan comes out for the trade immediately to save and redeem, and also avenge his teammate, rather, to make it 4-3.
These rounds, though, they cost so much money. Their bank account's looking like yours after a new skin set is released. as they are buying down to 0 on some of these players. TenZ does finally put the op in play, so we'll see the op in TenZ hands. Not that he's needed it. His rifle work has been stellar thus far. You know, we mentioned that Cloud9 likely wouldn't allow Space Station to win this in a 2-0 fashion yet again. I think TenZ won't allow that to happen. Single-handedly putting up the numbers that he's putting up. It's an impressive performance from the young gun from Cloud9.
Deploying drone.
Space Station, though, has been able to scrape together some round wins, and I say that quite literally. They've been barely winning these rounds, fighting really hard to find those round wins. Both teams just in this really unstable point with their economy. The credits are not piling up quite the way you would hope they would for either one. So this round has heavy impact. Winner of this should likely force their opponent onto an eco.
And with the amount of times that, you know, you've put a lot of pressure on the attacker side in hookah, this is why, firstly, they're going to put that op from TenZ inside hookah, so he could try to get the first pick and dash away. But if it's not for those, expect TenZ also to be opping out towards that showers, as 1 or 2 rounds in the first half, we've seen him push out towards that shower side and get the immediate early pick onto Boostio and also onto Insky. But now as they have a lot of resources on the B side, we have initiation and a push towards the attacker side for SSG inside A. And they're still going to try to come in right now just to try to see if they can get a couple of kills before. But now they're forced to fall back just because of the Killjoy lockdown. So time has been wasted. Spike at least has been planted. And now you have a good pulse plant position for Spacestation Gaming.
I love the fact that they still get the spike plant despite the effort from Mitch to deny it. And again, the Space Station managed to find a win. That's the round they needed, though. They needed to really win a strong round, and you know, you heard it. It's a flawless round win from them. And again, we mentioned it. The money wasn't going to be good for either team, regardless of the outcome. So Cloud9 going to have to go down to SMGs and Sheriffs, it looks like. That said, some of these players have some absolutely ridiculous aim. You look at TenZ, he's obviously the one that gets profiled the most, but we've seen Relyks have his fair share of dirty shots with pistols. So can't necessarily count them out as Space Station ties the score at 4 apiece. And now we'll see them start putting more pressure on this A site, which is what I like. They've been going towards B for the most of these last 8 rounds. They've been putting presence on that B site early. This time around, though, it looks like they're going to be pressuring the A site. And after that last round, who could blame them? They found success there, and it was one of the best round wins they've had yet.
They were hoping for Cloud9 to have an aggressive position on that short A to start things off. Frenzy's playing close range, but after that owl drone, you kind of force them back, which gives a lot of map control now for Space Station with the rifles that they have. So you have to play a lot more passively now for Cloud9 Blue. You want to play the off angles, and it starts off at the entrance there from TenZ, but he gets damaged down to about 10 HP, forced to retreat inside the site, so that weakens things up again. But that's the thing, they don't really have more information from Cloud9 Blue because they haven't pushed on the opposite side of the map. So those 2 players are still going to be stuck inside hookah, while the rest now could move in towards the A side. At least a trade comes in their favor. It makes it a 4 versus 4. A big paranoia will force shinobi back into the site, but now he's met up with Relyks, where they could double it up on a peek against Kaplan, but he gets both of them down. This is good right now for the attackers. The spike has been planted, last one on a flank, and Mitch will fall. So SSG, they take the lead, and this is a very similar scenario to the last time, because the last time, Cloud9 Blue, I think they were only able to get 5 rounds on the defender side. So this could actually still repeat here, Buck, where you might have a chance on this first map for SSG, but again, it's going to be a very tough matchup for them on the second one on Split.
I think I like what I see here from Space Station too. Now going back to the B site, recognizing like, okay, we hit A 2 times in a row. There's a possibility for an adjustment that could be coming through. And also, do we really want to go right at TenZ? Probably not. Now, what they aren't factoring is TenZ's level of aggression currently. TenZ is getting a ton of information. So he's going to know that they're not in this area, but I don't think it's going to matter. Space Station's exploding on the site. He's not going to be able to realistically react to that at all. There's the first kill coming out, or kill of sorts, as they interrupt the run it back and send him back to his original location. But they've been pushed out of the site. You can see the remaining members have to push through hookah back into mid. Mitch is here with the Odin, and the spam is just a little bit late. Roca is able to take out Mitch. And that'll make control of spawn a little bit easier and neutralize the positions of players coming through from hookah. They're all coming through from the same spots mostly. Everyone trying to work their way through hookah. Luckily, shinobi able to pick off 2. That gives TenZ an escape route as he tailwinds into his own smoke. But you kind of feel like the writing was on the wall with that round. They needed more of a split presence, as so many things were timing based. TenZ is on that push through showers. He could get that information if it's a slower play towards B. You know, they're pushing into hookah. If they have the time, they might be able to get that push into mid and be like, okay, they're definitely B long. Like, if they get that call, that's all they need to make the call and pull the adjustment back. But with all those players up in that position, the only place for them to funnel to is back into hookah, because the rotate through long is just not viable for TenZ. So in that position, you leave Mitch alone in spawn, and that gives them full access to elbow and back halls.
But that's also the second time that the attackers from SSG actually went aggressively on long B off the back of a run it back, right? A lot of the debate happens sometimes as, should we actually have a Raze instead of a Phoenix on the attack, or at least as an agent on this map, where a showstopper usually is the one that hops into the map to get the kill. Nonetheless, though, we'll talk about that a little bit. We have SSG able to take the side of the map, and look at this. Again, they get a spike plant, but look at the position of Insky. He's all the way up towards the defender spawn. He already has sSef moving up with him as well, and they have great full spot position where they don't have to fall back towards short A, or they don't have to fall back towards showers. They just play the crossfire setup in the trade as they're all set up across the map, across the site, rather. But,
Final round of the first half, and we've got TenZ bringing out that off. But go ahead, it sounded like you wanted to add something there.
Yeah, sorry. I was just wanted to take that time to continue on that debate about the Raze and the Phoenix, right? And the Phoenix so far from Boostio, that's twice that he's able to use it to get into at least elbow to try to get that information so that somebody like roca could come in and get the trade-off when the run it back gets depleted. So I think they're using it greatly for SSG on the aggressive pushes.
It's a great rebound from Spacestation. It was starting out a little bit rough, but they turned things around, and I think part of that was just finding the weakness over on the A side. Kaplan able to pick off shinobi. So no more smokes on the round for Cloud9. Spacestation, again, they have control of long B, and they've got players in hookah as well. They'll be popping out onto the site in just a moment. Mitch gets smoked out. He's stuck inside that dark cover. There's a Lear that comes through, but Mitch somehow able to spot out roca. So that's a nice little pickup as they try to gain access to the site. Boostio still able to push back into the backside. And they'll also go ahead and take out the Nano Swarm that would have been directly underneath the spike as it goes down inside Tuna. The retake is already well underway, and that's TenZ with a dirty shot through the steel container. TenZ looking for more as well. An absolutely ridiculous flick back from TenZ. The spike planted inside. It's almost impossible for Kaplan to do anything about it. You mentioned it. Cloud9 got 5 rounds the last time. They're going to get that again.
Yeah, and you got to give it. Yes, TenZ had a beautiful shot there through the tuna can, but you saw it. That opponent, I think it was sSef, right? That got that plant inside tuna can, was spotted by an owl drone. I think that even came in from elbow or a recon dart too on that retake. So a very clean execution from Cloud9 Blue on that retake to be able to get that 5th round. Even with the spike being planted when you have 1 player remaining inside hookah, it wasn't really planted for Kaplan at that point. You can't really wall bang from that position either. So you wanted to maybe plant a little bit more out in the, what I would call the edges, right? Not out in the open, but at the edges of the tuna can, so that you could actually try to get a wall bang from there and not have to expose yourself from hookah. But with the way that they entered towards that site and how it was very chaotic, right? How you said that Vice was able to get that first kill, they couldn't really try to go for a safe spot to plant, just being afraid that Cloud9 Blue might be very aggressive on that retake. But this round, we talked about aggression. It's going to be TenZ pushing first. But that battle, the top duelist for each team, it's going to be roca that takes the upper hand.
All right. Ooh. Even Relyks paused for a moment, like he's just kind of like, oh, well, okay.
I'll take it.
Yeah, like totally meant to do that. Relyks actually has a potential line on another kill as well. There's one using dark cover to sneak right around the corner to the back of that box. And that's a nice pickoff from Kaplan. A little bit scary there as Relyks was holding that for a moment, but the smoke was just big enough to allow that position. Cloud9 down a player currently, but like they're able to do this. Yeah, you're right. You've got Omen right around the corner. You've got one already pushed up in mid. I mean, Spacestation has great positioning, like you said.
Yeah. So the last two guys now just looking for redemption here with shinobi and Vice. I mean, they do have the spike. They have 30 seconds left, but the only information that they have was that push from Boostio.
30 seconds
They don't know
left.
the full rotation came back towards the A side. I mean, they might have an idea since they know that the flank came in from Boostio, but they don't know that somebody's playing inside this cubby, and that's an easy kill for Insky. Second one, it will get the dink. Vice will get a kill before, and that's it. I mean, you lose a player out of that, out of that trade, sorry. But what you really want is a round, and SSG definitely got it. And that frenzy on pistol, we've seen it maybe, what, a couple of months ago when Sinatra kept using it on that frenzy, and you're starting to see more and more frenzies on pistols, which comes up very positively for these teams.
TenZ, 14 and 10. He's cooled off a little bit. I won't say his performance is bad, but obviously that early ace helped boost the stats quite a bit, gave him a nice little cushion. The rest of the team starting to catch up just a bit. Now, that turret might give them a false sense of security, as there is one currently sitting right on top of the truck in sight, and as they make their way in, that's what allows Insky to find these kills. It's a flying target. He's skeet shooting at this point. Relyks survives for way longer than you'd think, but his movement gave them enough time to take down that threat. So even though Relyks dies, ultimately the move works out. Now, they've still got one on the back of the play. That's Boostio, who picks off one, but they actually got around the corner before that could happen. Now, there's TenZ with this dirty shots coming out of the Sheriff. TenZ has found himself a second, and you can see Space Station backing off. They're like, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's just pump the brakes. Let's give him that. And I like the adjustment here.
Wow.
So TenZ decides to go across the map through the portal again. It's an around-the-world strategy from TenZ that should at least net him a spike plant here in a moment. And he's even going to use the smoke. Oh, that position is awkward. There's the shock dart to come through. And the smoke's going to dissipate as the spike gets planted, but no one's on site currently. And it's all down to TenZ and how accurate his Sheriff can be.
Yeah, but now that he shot that dart, they know that he's heading towards the lamps. There's already one around the corner. That is going to be Boostio. Boostio greets him with another surprise. That's another backstab twice for Boostio into the round. The first one is the second time that he pushes down towards that ramp at the hookah side. And when he heard the teleporter going through, of all three players of Cloud9, he was able to at least catch one off the rotation. That was Vice. And with that, you kind of keep Cloud9 stuck inside hookah because you also have roca at the spawn side. But very nice attempt from TenZ at least. Those shots from the Sheriffs were super crisp, and it was very close actually. On a 2 versus 1, you saw how much respect that they gave to TenZ as well for SSG. But allowing to get that dart out and that shot off really gave a chance there for Boostio to win that in the end versus TenZ. So definitely a good eco on their end for Cloud9. They build the economy up into this round here. It's 9-5 in favor of the defenders, now occupied by SSG, and it's going to be a slow play for Cloud9 with them looking for some information towards the showers to start, and that started with the recon dart. So they're going to triple push up, and it's Relyks that gets the first 2 kills.
Cover going out.
Space Station sending resources over to A. You've already got Boostio through, and the timing is so brutal. Boostio was holding that, waiting for the peak to come through, and it doesn't happen. So naturally, it's time to get out of dodge. Space Station realizes the round is 100% lost. There is no sense fighting for it. So they'll stack up somewhere with what equipment they've got left, try and salvage it and bring it into the next round. They were 1 round away from finding double digits, but the buy round from Cloud9 proved to be a bit too much.
Yeah, and again, it was just off the great utility and push that you have from Cloud9. And it's not unfamiliar territory for Cloud9 how they play their attacker side too. They're okay playing, or not okay, it's just their way of setting up and making sure that they have the trade to take the early map control. And with that triple to get 2 kills with no losses, you're definitely taking that and you're rushing straight into the site. You don't have to move any more slowly. You have the advantage at least another 3 versus 1 into the site if you have the defenders that decide to have a stack in that area. So Cloud9 Blue definitely played that super well, and they could continue with that. I mean, when you have somebody like TenZ that's fragging the way that he does, Relyks has been a little bit quiet. We didn't talk about his name a lot, but he just got a nice 2K off that one too. And if he's able to bring in that consistency that we know Relyks is for, like that sleeper fragger that you have for Cloud9, when you start having those 2 players activated, you're going to have to start being careful being in the shoes of Spacestation Gaming. So you're going to have to start giving them that respect too, or disrespect them at the same time and push back against them like Cloud9 did on defense.
Shinobi takes a dart straight to the face.
Joke's over.
So he's going to back off just a bit. Advanced positions currently, and they're trying to set up a potential pinch. Boostio does push through and find some on the other side of showers. That allows sSef to get into this position as well. And now a follow-up through the port from Boostio. As he's got their heads looking in multiple directions, they've been put on a swivel. But unfortunately, it all falls apart. SSG had that advantage. They had that strong position. I don't think they anticipate Mitch being in this spot, so things are starting to fall apart. It's all up to sSef, who is now going to be able to upgrade. But look at what he's got left. 3 HP and a dream for the Cypher against a Raze. Not exactly the ideal scenario.
Yeah, you're definitely happy with the pinch, and you know, with the run it back that they used for Spacestation Gaming, the rest of them you saw it was sort of an eco. So this being salvaged by sSef, and if he could actually get maybe some damage, maybe a kill, even if the spike goes off, you're happy with the result for Spacestation Gaming. But Relyks at this point, he doesn't know how much HP his opponent has, and sometimes you've seen in the past matches throughout this tournament that 3 HP, 4 HP, 1 HP is definitely good enough to still win the round. So sSef is committing to this. He's gonna tap on his spike to push him out and even force out an ultimate. So this is huge right now, and it misses. But finally, Relyks gets the kill, salvages the round for Cloud9 Blue, and we have a 9-7 scoreline for SSG.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned how he forces that ult out. I mean, that's actually important. Pulling that rocket out, probably not necessary. Relyks gets a little trigger happy with the ult, the showstopper, thinking maybe it would be necessary, ends up connecting with the top of APC. So I guess that's like the silver lining, that like the one plus side of the way that that round went. It was great work from them in general. sSef started with the Sheriff and managed to bring it to an almost winnable position.
Yeah.
But
the economy's still low for SSG, so I'm thinking now at this point they did go for a buy previously, but it works out with the first kill here.
Again, a back and forth volley.
Take flight.
This happened last round. The difference was last round, Space Station had rifles. This round, they get aggressive on short, and they try to push back Cloud9 just a bit. And they take the fight straight to their doorstep. We do find ourselves in a 3-on-3. There's some economic damage dealt for sure. And Space Station, even if they do lose this round, they still have control of the scoreboard. A bye will follow in the round after this. And that's when the pressure's on. Still 2 players over towards B. There's one on A currently. You've got Sova, who's sitting inside lamps. It should be Kaplan. Who's sitting on a frenzy, one of the few players that didn't opt for a Sheriff on the round, and we've seen that already in the past. Boostio over in Hookah and roca on site, both on Sheriffs as well. So the pressure is on for Kaplan to try and find
30
kill,
seconds
maybe
left.
scoop up a weapon if possible. Realistically, though, this should be a round for Cloud9. Especially with the lockdown.
And I think he's okay, Kaplan, right now. I don't think he's going to peek. He's going to call that the plan's coming here. He's going to wait for his teammates. And while he doesn't give away his position, if somebody's going to try to walk into U-Haul to take control, okay, that lockdown's going to be huge now. It's going to be pretty much impossible for Kaplan to get out. So he wants to get a kill at least with him before he falls. And he goes face-to-face against Mitch, gets the tap, gets the kill. That is perfect for him right now. And as the lockdown will happen, he could maybe break it because he was out there on the top. But it's not going to happen. And it's going to be Relyks that gets the kill. But it's a 2 versus 2. They know where the last 2 players are at.
roca looking for the shots out of the Sheriff. It's a blast pack that gets Relyks into a better position. But now it's down to Vice. Vice is holding, and they're just going to try and stick the spike. Does he have the time? Of course he doesn't. He's going for it, but he realizes it's already lost. What can you do? Vice is hunting, looking for the kill. Vice actually gets it right before the spike detonates. But again, we talked about it. Space Station did not come into that round with a crazy investment. That was actually just pistols. Now, is there money left on the table for Cloud9? Sure there is. They've got plenty to buy, but every penny counts. So now we'll see the buy come through from both teams. A little bit more staying power, economically speaking, for Cloud9, just because of the fact that they've won 3 rounds in a row. So they're not in a position where they have to worry about being unable to buy in the round that follows this if they were to lose. Whereas that can't be said about Space Station. So despite Space Station's efforts, the cash has built up just enough to give a 1-round cushion for Cloud9 Blue. roca, he's the man to keep your eyes on. He's currently in Hookah, holding a very wide angle. Just kind of going with an angle that no one would anticipate, but has to back off as the Al drone comes through.
Well, that dark cover that came out allows roca to stay into his spawn, actually. So this is going to be big under window. They have a 4-player stack. They're okay with that because sSef is actually playing a solo A side as that Cypher, trying to get as much information as he can with the camera and stay alive as long as he can inside that the lamp, sorry. And the thing that's difficult right now, though, is that you do have a Hunter's Fury for Vice. So if he decides to ult in there, it would be very hard for sSef to try to stay alive. But thankfully, there you go. He's playing more towards that back. The Hunter's Fury comes out. It goes inside the lamp, but he's already safe and out of position. So this is going to be big right now for sSef to stay alive and wait for his teammates to rotate.
Oh, there's the spike being secured here. It's a 5-on-5. It'll be a full force retake as both teams prepare to just clash on the site. They're going to collide. And what happens when an unstoppable force hits an immovable object, we might find out in just a moment. They're beginning their push out from spawn. There's the dart to try to lead them in. Dart cover and paranoia coming out from Omen for the attacking side. Kaplan trying to make his way through. Has to be careful though, low on ammo and ends up being taken down. But it's Spacestation who's found themselves in an advantageous position. They know where Shinobi's at, the last player standing. And as he goes for the wide swing, roca is holding. That's double-digit rounds right now for Spacestation as they somehow found a way back onto the site. The fight really took place inside U-Haul or Lamps, and they just, boom, two forces just collide. And Spacestation's able to win out on a lot of the duels. We didn't see all of them, but ultimately it's the attacking side of C9 who falls short in the round.
Yeah.
And it's Spacestation to pick up that double-digit round finally.
And off our view, just having Kaplan taking an advantage of the dark cover, you know, even if he gets hit by the paranoia, it doesn't really matter from his position because he's playing it so close at the staircase that he's already going to see his opponent if he decides to wide swing into it. So as he doesn't see any opposition, he keeps two players really inside lamp focused on him for the rest of SSG to push out and get those kills. So now you're putting TenZ and company right now into another buy, but this might be the last buy available for them should they lose this one here. Unless they get another spike plan here, things may change. But Mitch is the first to fall. TenZ has popped out the Bladestorm to trade it out. But it's a 4 versus 4. You also saw earlier that Relyks was low on HP from an early tap from roca inside hookah. So now this is going to be very difficult for Cloud9 to try to take over this A sign. I mean, there's a lot of cloud bursts happening from TenZ. He's just trying to hold and steady and slow down the round for Cloud9 as they reassess and readjust towards the shower side. But you still have a double setup here for 2 inside the lamps, which could be very, very deadly in SSG's position.
sSef has been playing so well as Cypher as well, but there is a serious push coming through from Cloud9. A fake dash. I like that from TenZ. He fakes the tailwind onto site to make them think that there's a player potentially pushing up. Now this nade could be right on the money.
Spike planted.
And it is going to do some damage there to sSef. So Relyks able to move up further and further. The drone's going to spot out one. Well played. Good combination move coming in from Cloud9. sSef does turn back, but in that time, there's TenZ finally peeking from short. It's SSG with the player disadvantage. Shinobi's right around the corner in U-Haul. Currently, Boostio decides to take his push somewhere else for the time being. With the curveball around the corner, that's a nice way to open things up. Still has the blaze wall as well to work with. Goes with the flash, and it's actually going to come down to now a one-on-one. Again, the blaze wall is still here, so Boostio can try to work this one. Throws down the hot hands, has to just stick it and hope for the best. Not going to happen. That round was oh so important to Spacestation. If they were able to do it, they would have finally chipped away at the cash that Cloud9 had built up. And you can see, even with the win, where the money's at. A few players just barely north of being able to field a buy. You're finally seeing that macroeconomic play that we've been talking about over the across this second half come to life. But it is odd in the end that Vice dies to that spike and doesn't keep pushing.
I think he knew he didn't have a chance. I don't think he had a chance to get away.
It was close.
Like, screw it. Yeah, I mean, you should still try it no matter what, right? But
it's like, it's like baseball, right? They always tell you, like, it doesn't matter if you're going to be out. you run through. You always run through.
Exactly, exactly. Especially 2 outs, you on third base, why not? And that was pretty much that point for Cloud9 Blue. Because now, that's a great way to cancel that. That would have been the second time, that you would have had Boostio ult and try to get through towards a teleporter and get information on the A side, while the rest of the focus from SSG, you saw that 3-man stack towards the A side, it's been totally nullified. But the camera gets popped up by sSef, that's going to look back towards that area of spawn, and you're rotating everybody back towards the A side. But the thing is, for Cloud9, they're still lurking a little bit, but finally you see that they're edging back towards a mid to B split. And SSG has read this perfectly, at least to start. How does Cloud9 try to retake this right now? I mean, they have a showstopper that they can utilize to just satchel into the site and maybe open it up on the end. I'm pretty sure you still have the paint shells available for Relyks too. So it's still going to be a very difficult hold, especially from these positions. Somebody like Insky in that corner of the B cubby right now is heavily exposed from paint shells.
Peak early from Boostio. Might have done a little bit more, but just couldn't quite line it up. Kaplan's there to greet Relyks as he dive bombs start cover, and somehow this round has come together. Shinobi thought about going for the ult, but look at that. 4 players survive for Space Station. They scrape together a buy and they make it work. Cloud9 walks right into the trap, and Space Station capitalizes. Big round from them, and now the money finally broken for Cloud9. It's almost worse than it would have been had they lost the round prior, because now their money is in this state and they have the chance to grab that 12th round if you're on Space Station. It's not looking good, and you can see just how important the round is. Cloud9 is spending every penny they've got.
Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, they would have been in a position to have 2 broken buys. So why not try to bring it to as much as you can to salvage it, right? You have a Sheriff, you have a Vandal. Instead of having to go Spectre, Bulldog, and then Spectre, Bulldog around after, possibly with the economy that you have, then they just wanted to try to gamble it into this round here. The thing is, for SSG, you're right. They had to force themselves on a previous round, which paid off in their favor.
I know exactly where.
The pickoff from Vice with the ult. It gave them a tiny little opportunity, but Space Station quickly stomps that one out as they responded in kind with the rifles that were mostly brought in from the previous round. A gift from Cloud9. Cloud9 now grouping up towards short. They don't really have much map control currently, so they're just going to push up further and further. That dart is going to scare Shinobi away, so what little advanced positions they had lost, and even pushing back into that spot now is a little bit risky, given that the dart kind of sold out the play. A dark cover will come through as Mitch goes for a pickup on a rifle. Will find himself a Vandal, but not prepared for that. sSef just spams through the smoke as Mitch is gun juggling, trying to make things work, and yeah, that just didn't pan out the way that he had hoped.
Yeah, I was going to say that's good. You can pick up the rifle, reload, go through the teleporter, and hit B. With the time remaining, now you come into B, but you don't have any really big weapons to work with. Big dart, that's going to spot one, but Boostio still holds the B site from the cubby area, and they do put map point for SSG now versus Cloud9. And SSG continue to impress the fans right now as, again, we haven't seen a lot of SSG in the past matches, tournaments that they've done. They had a hard time getting out of groups. And now that they finally make it into the close qualifier of the UMG, they're also looking to get another win versus Cloud9, because this is not the first time that these guys meet with each other on the UMG close qualifier. They just did yesterday, where SSG was able to win this series 2-0.
Space Station in position to close out map number 1. We all kind of thought this was a reality. I don't think this is a surprise at all. Space Station plays bind and plays it well. The curveball is the next map, which is split. Now Boostio able to find one, and then again saying curveball, this time referring to the skill. Gets caught as he waits for the recovery period. Can't get the rifle out in time. That allows them up onto the site. Roca picks off TenZ from distance. But there's a nice response from Shinobi with the SMG from range. A shadow step to get across, and they're going to do what they've done before. They're backing off. They already had a Sova over in this area, so they know that this A site should be somewhat soft. But I wonder if they go with this double fake.
Yeah, I think so.
Vice isn't really that far out, so there's a possibility still that they could bait this play out. They'll use the Owl drone to get some intel, take out some utility, as well as the tripwire gets dropped. But there's a chance for them to even push back through the portal and go back towards B. And with the way they're shifted over currently on this side, there's still that possibility. It's like they're leaving that open if they want to take it.
It's if they actually lose a player, take teleport and go B. But if they have no opposition right now, go for the plant. You already have U control, so you have the advantage on your side now. Especially now with a showstopper, you can have from the shadows to get information of where their rotation's coming from as well. Cloud9 Blue, sorry, is actually definitely looking good in this post plant.
Relyks picking off sSef. Insky gonna go down as well. Well held from Cloud9 currently. Their position certainly isn't ideal. All players currently in U-Haul. Kaplan knows there's one more around the corner, but got to applaud Cloud9 the way they played that round. Coming in with stingers and SMGs, it wasn't exactly what one would consider ideal, but they managed to pull it off, and now they've got some cash to fall back on and some rifles as well. Still not great. Still scraping every penny they've got out from underneath the couch cushions. And it's going to result in Mitch being forced to use a Guardian. Mitch struggling as well as the Killjoy currently. We've seen Mitch put up great numbers as Killjoy, but it seems like it's very map specific when it comes to Killjoy performance, as said this before, and it's not a Mitch specific thing, it's just the way the agent plays. I don't think that Killjoys typically have good performances on maps like Bind and Haven. I think that in general, I feel like they do much better on Ascent and Split, and we'll see if that's going to be the case, as some of those maps will be coming up in the series.
So Boostio for another time, run it back, saw a couple of players towards the spawn side too, so they rotate roca back through the spawn and try to go for a triple towards the A side. But just really quickly, from that pulse plant position from Cloud9 on that previous round, I like it that they played it close to the staircase. They knew that Insky probably still had a paranoia, and on a retake would actually throw that paranoia in that little cubby area where most people would try to hold a tight angle, but they played it much closer, and they caught SSG off that rotation back. So I like it how you readjust and how you adapt to these type of gameplays. And from scrimming all of these teams, you kind of have a feel of how these players are playing. And now on their side for SSG, they kind of have an expectation that it's still going to be a slow play from Cloud9, and this time going to be affected towards this B side. And that paranoia hits his teammate for a bit, but Mitch still tries to move in. Big dart that allows sSef to get 2 kills. A showstopper to come out. That's going to connect, but not until he gets a 3rd kill of himself. So now it's a 3 versus 2. The Spike looking to move back here to get a plant towards the A side. It might happen at triple. And as they rotate back, they do have one man under for Cloud9. And SSG is looking big on this retake. Because you went for the teleport, they knew it was happening. You already had 2 guys on half rotations, so it was a faster retake now for Cloud9. Vice stuck on a 3 versus 1. They know exactly where he's at. As the first shot rings, he goes for the recon dart, but it's just going to go for the full defuse. And SSG, the same scoreline, beats Cloud9 on Bind 13-10.
Realistically, what can you expect of them in that scenario? You know, you have a 1v3, the Spike's planted in a terrible spot. They scraped together that plant in the first place thanks to the ult. But we are going to throw things to a break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping into map number 2.